So Emmanuel Macron has hosted Volodymyr Zelensky for a Coalition of the Willing meeting. Macron has reasserted that the security guarantees Europeans want to provide are ready, but all of this is contingent on there being a ceasefire. So I think at the moment the importance for Macron is to offer reassurance to Zelensky and to give the world a very visible illustration that there is a relationship with Zelensky, there is a continuing level of support for him, and as and when that's required, the Europeans are ready to act. So credit to Zelensky, he is quite realistic as to what he thinks he can get out of situations. So something that's changed fundamentally since before the start of this big invasion to now is that NATO is not in a position to offer membership to Ukraine. This was something that the then NATO Secretary General was saying, well, Russia cannot dictate who joins NATO. If we want to offer Ukraine membership or a path, that's our entitlement. The Trump administration has, as we know, said no Ukraine to joining NATO. So that means that Zelensky, operating as he does in the real world, will want as close as he can get to a NATO-style security guarantee. What that looks like is strong and enthusiastic backing from the British and the French and some other European countries, and ambivalent backing from the US, and a very ambiguous sense of what the US role would actually look like. Trump in Alaska, and then after Alaska when he hosted those European leaders and the NATO Secretary General in the White House the Monday after the Alaska meeting, was again not committal as to what a US role would look like in this. Optimism and expectation that European boots could be on the ground has gone up, and about February, March time this year has gone down since then. It's gone back up a little bit, but the big obstacles are no ceasefire, Russia's stated desire to not have European or NATO nation troops deployed in Ukraine, no matter how they're badged, NATO or otherwise. And just, I think, the uncertainty around when this would actually move to a different phase in the conflict. So there's an enormous amount of uncertainty, and those coalition of the willing countries are in a difficult position. They've got to be ready to say something very credible very, very quickly. They don't necessarily know when that will be operationalised. What could this look like? I think early indications are that this would not involve European troops patrolling you can imagine in your mind a barbed wire covered front line, with their rifles pointed in the direction of the other side. This kind of policing of a front line is not the way in which it's being expressed. It's more likely that European troops would bolster Ukraine in maybe less hazardous areas. It's very interesting, this coalition of the willing meetings taking place in Paris today. Macron and Zelensky in those images of showing fraternal support to Zelensky at his time of trouble. And the same week we've seen Vladimir Putin speaking to Narendra Modi and to Xi Jinping, and then attending a military parade with Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un. And that's a reflection of Russia's diplomatic alliances. And it's important to remember that when the Russians said we don't want NATO nations deploying their troops into Ukraine, no matter how they're badged, there's also a counter-proposition, not very well developed by the Russians, that the countries more friendly to them should be involved in some way, shape or form. Whether this then means a Russian counter-proposition whenever they want to stop fighting in months or years from now could involve going to the United Nations and saying we want something badged under the United Nations. Those who led the pressure on Ukraine within the EU, within the G7, I think lost the track of the bigger global picture very early on, but now there's no mistaking the fact that neither India nor China will turn their backs economically on Russia. Russia's next move is to continue to sit this out, to wait this out. There's no breakthrough in the Donetsk region. They're grinding forward at a very incremental rate in terms of their offensive actions, but they only need to keep going, to keep slowly etching away at the Ukrainian territory that Ukrainians still hold. And they need to wait this out because Ukraine is under pressure, because Ukraine is a smaller country relative to Russia. They're both under pressure for sustaining this high-tempo level of warfare for 3.5, coming on to 4 years now. But of course, it's Ukraine that will feel that pressure most keenly in terms of its own population, which is closer to 40 million, and the Russian population is many times that size.